Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back to another Logging from Scratch episode. So, we have come back to the beautiful Axe Mountain, and we've landed a contract for thinning. So, there's a park association, again, I guess they like the work that we did on Port Murray, so they've hired us again to do a little thinning project here on Axe Mountain. So down at the very end of this road, as far as I know anyway, there is a big lake area where people camp. So we're going to go down there and we're going to do our absolute best to clean out a bunch of the birch trees because they really want to see the spruce kind of dominate that area. So we are going to do our best to try to clean them up. Now we're supposed to leave them in 7-meter lengths. I can't remember if that's the same we did on Port Murray, but apparently it'll make it an easy pickup project for the self-loader when he goes in there. So we'll do our best to kind of trail it out and make it easy access for that. Now this is it's a lot more dense than it was on Port Murray for trees, so this should be a little bit of an interesting project. And we want to go right this way. So yeah, it should be pretty good. And like I said, it should be the last little bit of coin I need because I want to do some upgrades over on Legion Hills. I want to get some more buildings. I want to spread the land a little bit more. Maybe make some trails. I imagine we'll be starting to build some roads there. Should be pretty good. I'm actually getting pretty excited about that because I kind of want to get into some of the timber on Legion Hills in the back there. But I've been kind of fighting with the licensing committee to get the right licenses to go back there and trim and stuff. So, but we should have that all sorted out here pretty quick. Okay, so this is our area, and it's these white trees here, these birchy-looking guys that we want to try to wipe out. So there's a lot of birch here. So this is going to be a heck of a project. But as you can see, because there's so much birch, it's kind of taking over. I mean, to us it might look beautiful, but I guess it's not good for the environment or whatever's going on here. So we want to try to wipe out as many of these birch trees as possible. And I don't really have a definite plan here. So there's a bit of a line drawn out where we stop, but he said basically go to the line and then keep going as much as we can. So as long as we have time, we can just keep pounding them away here. That's kind of the plan. So let's lower our ramp here. There we go. A ramp down. Oops. Sometimes we double start it. And we'll back our butts out of here. And yeah, I guess we'll try felling here. This probably would have been better with like a feller buncher, but you know what? You work with what you got, right? So it's all good. So let's turn our little light on here. And flip this guy up. Okay, so yeah, 7 meters what we want. So bump that up a little. And we can just kind of slay trees for a bit. Easy money, man. This is what we're good at. That's what we do. And then I guess we'll just kind of leave them in a easier area here for him to grab. I get 2 of those out of that. Oops. Just didn't like that one. So, topic of the day. What are we going to talk about today? What's something exciting that's going on? Well, actually, there's a lot of random, exciting political stuff going on in the world right now. I don't really want to get into politics. How about let's talk about social media? Let's talk about social media. How about that? I'm just going to drop that in there. So I recently, well, actually up to like a day ago, I think, I basically just stopped watching the news. I had so many different media outlets and Reddit and all these places I used to go and just watch. I didn't go there for the news. I just went to like see interesting new things that were going on. But recently with all the stuff going on in the U.S. and the coronavirus and the, protesting and rioting and all that crazy stuff that's going on, like there's just nothing good news-wise. Oh, geez, I just realized I cut a spruce tree. Oh, well, I wasn't paying attention. We'll pretend that one didn't happen. We'll just take that one with us and hide it somewhere. It was necessary evil to make a nice road. That's what I'm going to go with. Let's put this over here so it's kind of off out of those birch piles. We don't want to mix or else buddy there's not going to be too happy. There we go. Drop that. And we could probably run this one out a little bit better for him there. There we go. But yeah, with all that crazy stuff that's going on, it's like, all my news feeds, everything is just full of, that's all they talk about. Well, and I guess it's an election year as well, so I guess that's all you're going to hear pretty much for the next while. But I just got to the point where I was like so tired of just reading about all this garbage, and it's just there's nothing really positive. It's all just kind of negative stuff. So I was like, man, I liked it better when they had like, you know, scientific stuff that they talked about, or like, you know, new breakthroughs on, you know, drug treatments, or, you know, cool stuff that's like actually world changing and interesting. And now it's just, you know, all stuff about politicians, and I don't know, just it's really boring for me. I don't really like it. So I just basically got to the point where I was like, you know, I don't really want to read this stuff anymore. A lot of it just makes me annoyed, like reading some of this stuff. It's like, God, what is wrong with everybody in the world? So I pretty much cut all my social media. Like I strictly cut my Facebook, so it only shows me stuff from basically a couple friends, that kind of stuff. It doesn't show any more of the news stuff that I used to follow. None of the regular groups. There's just so much stuff going on in social media right now with like groups and biased groups and non-biased groups, and they're all fighting each other, and it's like, you guys are all just freaking crazy, man. And it's like, the biggest thing for me is just the honesty of the news outlets these days. Like, you know, something will happen, and then they're like, oh, everyone burned to the ground, the world's on fire, ah. And then the next day they're like, oh, guys, we were totally mistaken, the world's not on fire at all. It's totally fine. There's no big deal. We were mistaken in our article or something. And then the next day they just go ahead and do it again. And it's just this constant cycle of like just lying, and then back, and then more lying, and then back again. It's like, oh, like, geez, just too much, man. Too much to handle. So yeah, I just kind of cut everything off, and it's actually been nice. You know, you don't go in there and read it. I mean, you're not supposed to take the news personally, but a lot of the issues that we're reading about were stuff that affects us even locally here in our small towns in Canada. And some of the stuff I read on the media, I'm just like, you guys are just freaking fruit bars, man. Like, they have no idea what they're talking about. They go for sensationalist headlines, right? That's the name of the game, right? They want the most views, the most watch time. It's kind of like YouTube, I guess, how people try to tailor the watch time and the views and stuff for the people. And they probably realize, you know, saying sensationalisty kind of things makes the best views and the best attention media. And the best thing about the media is they can be 100% wrong when they publish all that crap, and then just the next day be like, oh, we apologize, the information was incorrect. But meanwhile, they got, you know, 15 million views for their article that was all super sensationalist and wrong. How is that okay, though? Like, you know, how is it okay that the media, and the media is more just entertainment than it is truth anymore, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure most of you are smart enough to realize that, but it just, like, when did it become 100% okay to just stop reporting the news and start turning it into whatever, you know, narrative you want for fun, and then just, if you're wrong, just apologize tomorrow? Meanwhile, like, you know, ruining certain people's lives or confusing people. That's why I recommend to everybody, don't watch the freaking news, man. Like, it is such a, just, it's so wrong, and they just try to make you go whichever way the news wants to go. The news is so biased, it's just stupid. Think for yourself. I used to follow it lots, and I always followed the news with a grain of salt. Like, I always go like, oh yeah, well, you know, I like to know what's going on, but the way the news reports it is generally not at all the way it's going on. So if I hear about riots, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure there are riots happening right now, but the way the media puts it, it's just like, holy, you know, that's not at all the way it's going, but you guys said that. And then the next day they're like, we're so sorry we said it like that because that's not true at all. We were just confused or whatever. And it's like, how do you get away with that? Yeah. But, you know, whatever. That's the media. Oops. So like I said, I've completely just cut that avenue off, and it's quite nice. Same with social media in general. And I've had this rant a few times on these Logging from Scratch episodes where I talk about social media and I talk about how it affects people. Facebook, you know, Instagram, whatever you're using platform-wise, those platforms are so just, like, they're interesting. If you're smart enough and you can sit there and just read through the BS, there's actually a lot of interesting stuff in those articles to read up on. But a lot of the time, it's mostly just people, you know, doing status updates, talking about their burritos that they ate today or the workout they did today or, you know, that kind of stuff. And I always tell people Facebook is the highlight reel of people's lives. So and I'm sure you guys have all heard this is probably not news to you, but when people go on Facebook or Instagram or any kind of social media that has their friends or their, their idols, their people that they love on it, all of these places are showing you just the best possible moments of people's lives. That's all they are. There is no, you don't see the other side of that person's life. So what happens is you, as a consumer and viewer of this content, you start to watch it, and then you go, oh man, that guy's life is so much better than mine because look, he just bought a brand new car. He just bought a brand new boat. He just bought himself a brand new house. Him and his wife own a new house. How did that happen? There's all this stuff going on all the time, and people go on Facebook and they post their success, and a lot of the times it's exaggerated success, to try to get likes, to try to get views, to try to get, popularity, that kind of stuff. But they don't really show you the other side of things. So a lot of people in this generation, there's been lots of studies on it too, but a lot of people in this generations growing up with social media become a lot more depreciative of their own lives. They don't, they see other people being successful, they see other people having a good time while they're not, and they compare that to their own lives, and then they get super bummed out and depressed, and they go, well man, my life's not that good. How come my life sucks? I don't have a new house, I don't have a new boat, I don't have this, I don't have that. But a lot of times, like I said, social media, you don't see the other side. You don't see, maybe Ted bought himself a brand new lifted Dodge Dually with, a 40-inch lift in it, and he loves it, and it's the best truck in the world. And you're like, damn, that's a nice truck. But they don't talk about how, in 2 months, Ted really couldn't afford the payments on that truck, and all of a sudden he's lost it. He doesn't post about that. The people who bought the brand new house don't talk about how they can't afford the new furniture in their new house because they're broke as hell for buying this giant house they bought. There's all these different concepts that go on, but you don't hear the negative side. So constantly you're thinking, everyone's life is better than my life because look at these guys with all of their great stuff that they have. And that comparison is really, really negative on your own psyche. Because you're sitting there, like I said, all the time going, oh man, my life sucks. There was a really good commercial about that. What the heck was it? There was like a Facebook, it was kind of like an anti-Facebook ad, I guess you could say. But it was basically this guy, and it basically outlined everything I just said, where he, it's an actor, obviously not a real person, but I'm sure real people are like this. And he basically spends his entire time trying to create an online life that looks good. So, his relationship is actually suffering with the woman he's with in this video, but he doesn't care because he's trying to make, he'll borrow her for a picture just to get like a quick shot of them to make them look happy, but then they're actually like, miserable and fighting afterward. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. But there's like, even walking around, like when I go to the cities and stuff, like we live in a really small town, so it's not quite as bad here, but like I'll go to the bigger cities and stuff, like down in Vancouver or wherever, and people are like just walking around and they're like, Snapchatting, live streaming, but they're totally oblivious to the world around them. They're just so focused on what's happening in that little, on their phone while they're recording. They're like, hey guys, da la la, standing in the middle of a street corner, and everybody's like around them is just like, could you shut up? Or it's so funny to see all these different people that are basically just, that's their lives now, is they just walk around and ignore everything's going around them. But they'll try to set up stunts and stuff to get more attention. They'll try to set up drama, like, oh god, I fought a bum on the bus today or something, and then it turns out it's just like some guy said you're an idiot or something, and apparently that constitutes a fight, or I'm sure you guys have seen multiple examples of what I'm talking about for sure. But it's just so funny to see how the generation of the world's going. When I see generation, I feel like I'm old now, but I guess I'm 31. That's pretty much like half life, right? We're done. Life's over. Might as well just throw in the towel. But yeah, it's pretty funny. Social media and the news is just a deadly little playground, in my opinion. Just a lot of bad stuff. Where am I going to put this one? Actually, you know what? We're gonna back that one up. Oops, this way. I'm gonna put it. Oops. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. There we go. Ah, can't get a lock on that. There we go. And I think I'm just gonna put these right in here. I was trying to think if I was a self-loader coming up this road, how would I do this? Carefully. Well, let's get this one since it's right here. A lot of buttons when you're felling with these, with the advanced processor head. Too many buttons, man. But yeah, so and I'm pretty sure like I said, I've had this conversation on these Logging from Scratch episodes enough times where I've said, man, if you're going to watch the news, do it in small bits and take it with a grain of salt because, you know, there's so much just misinformation. And like I said, the media tries to create misinformation because it makes it more exaggerated and sensationalized, right? It's like the game of telephone where, you know, you tell somebody one thing and then by the time it comes back to you, it's a totally different thing than what it started as because they add lies and baloney onto it. So that's kind of identical to how media does it. Media likes to play that little game. And the more mismatched truths and the more drama you can create, well, humans love drama. Come on, guys, don't pretend you don't. Everybody does. But yeah, you kind of get stuck with all the bad side of things when you watch the news. I remember my parents always talking about how the news used to be when they were like, you know, back in the, well, I would assume like early 70s kind of range. And they said the news was so different than it is now because they would only cover like actual news, like real events and, you know, stuff that's happening in the world, and they didn't really exaggerate it per se back then because I think it wasn't really accepted to exaggerate it back then. But they said, you know, nowadays you'll hear so many different things from so many different news outlets. Back then, apparently, it was like one news outlet would say something, they'd all say the same thing. So you just picked your favorite newscaster, basically, and that's what you would go off of because that would be the news source you wanted to listen to. But now it's like, instead of picking your favorite newscaster, it's like pick the one that you think is the most truthful and then divide that by the other ones and then average them, and then maybe you'll have somewhat of the truth. It's so funny. Too funny. Okay, so let's maybe kibosh this side. We'll just kind of move forward a little bit here, and then we'll come back. Because we still got quite a bit here, and we're going to be a long episode because this is a lot of work. But, you know, we're making some good money off it, so I guess we shouldn't complain. And I'm just going to start laying these, like, right here. There we go. Oops. Oh, I always forget to do that. Some of these are just sneaking right in here. But yeah, interesting times. It'll be interesting to see where media goes in like the future. Like, do you think there'll ever be like something that forces like factual information to come out? Like something that like a law or like something that just says to all the news outlets, you can't say anything that's not necessarily like true, I guess. Like you can't add sensationalism. Would it be less entertaining? Yes, but would you be more factual? Probably. But it would be interesting to see if they could actually force news outlets to not be so entertainment centered and actually be a little more factual. And to you guys in the comments, if you guys watch the news, this is a good question for you guys if you want to answer. Do you watch the news? And if you do, what do you watch it on that you consider to be more honest than other news outlets? Because honestly, I would love to know. Now, I know you can go online and find reviews and find all the different places that talk about, you know, which news outlets are unbiased and which ones are and blah, 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 and which ones are, you know, Democratic, Republican, conservative, liberal, lefty, vegan, whatever you want, right? But then again, you know, those reviewers are also biased, opinionated too on what they think. Excuse me, on what they think is the truth of the matter, right? So it's kind of hard to determine. But do you guys in the chat or in the comments, do you guys have anything that you watch? Do you watch the news at all? Do you watch the news? Do you like the news? I generally just hear it from my friends. I have some very interesting friends that are very gossipy people that inform me of a lot of the stuff that goes on in the world, and it's kind of crazy. But then again, you're hearing it from somebody else, and it also plays telephone. I've had lots of times where I've heard people say, like, oh my God, did you hear about this? This happened. And you're like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then you go read about it, and you're like, oh, that's not at all what happened, because now the stories kind of come into play where it's totally different than what everybody thought. But and there's something about human beings that we like to there's a lot of people that like to be the first person to like tell another person about a fact. I don't know what that is. Some kind of psychology of feeling like you're in the know, I guess. I've experienced that at multiple different jobs, at multiple different offices, working in different companies. But there are particular people who just have to be the first person to tell you stuff because they get some kind of weird, jolty vibe out of being the first person to inform you of this crazy event that happened. And then you go read about it, and you're like, man, you should have read more about that, because that's not at all what happened. I always laugh at that. I'm sure you guys can relate to an experience, whether it be at home or a job or in public, where somebody told you something and then you necessarily found out that wasn't quite how it went at all later on. I'm pretty sure that's something we've all experienced, whether we want to believe it or not. But it seems to be happening a lot more these days. Like in high school, I always remember in high school, and again, you could say like we're old now, but in high school, it's like if somebody was spreading like rumors or gossiping, like it came back to that source pretty darn fast. And then that person would either get in trouble or they'd get their butt kicked, you know, that kind of stuff. I remember there was lots of kids in our high school that used to spread rumors about other people and try to get them in trouble, or try to be like, this guy said this about you, and then they go to the other guy and say, this guy said this about you, and then they try to get him to fight. There's a couple little snaky, ratty people that used to do that in our high school. But you know what? Once, it didn't take long for people to put the stories together and actually be like, so who did you hear that from? And then once it came back to those little ratty people, then those people would usually go beat them up or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, you know, it's weird how people are, like, I don't know if it's boredom. Like, is it bored with your lives? Oops. Oh, man, I got that stuck right on there. I wonder if I can recover that. I'll never financially recover from this. Here, let's go like this. There we go. Just got a pop and lock here. There we go. Oh. I'm pretty sure you couldn't do that on a real warthog. I'd probably bust all the lines off. Jeez. But yeah, God, I already lost my train of thought there. Yeah, it's just, it's weird how there's people, oh yeah, back to the dramatic people. It's weird how there's people who feel the need to create drama with their own lives. And like I said, I'm not sure if it's like boredom or they're trying to get back at the world or they're jealous or what it is, but a lot of people like to create sort of a dramatic lie about other people or companies or parties or whatever, to try to create a dramatic episode. And it's so strange that people do that. But I think it's people just get bored. I can't remember where I read it, but I remember reading about how people have no natural enemies for survival anymore, which kind of would tailor into why people create drama, because they're so bored with their lives. So they always compare it back to World War I. The whole world had a natural enemy in World War I, which was, you know, the Germans and Hitler and all that stuff, or whoever was in charge at that time. And then same thing, World War II came along. Everyone had a national enemy. Everybody in the world had an enemy, and that was, again, Hitler trying to take over the whole world with his big armies and stuff. And, you know, back then, everyone came together in countries and states, whether it was Canada, U.S., wherever, regardless of what side you were on, everybody came together to fight against this one cause. So it kind of gave humans a villain, like an enemy, a purpose, right? And I bet back then there was a lot less of what you see going on now, like for social media, obviously, well, technology as well, but it seemed to be a much more focused time for people. Like, people didn't have to really question what they wanted to do. You know, they were like, I'm going to go in the army. We're going to be drafted to fight against the war, or we're going to work at this factory to build shells so we can protect the... everybody had a cause to work towards. So it seems nowadays like we don't really have... Everything's quite peaceful compared to back in World War II days. I mean, not including lots of third world countries that are having wars and stuff, but I mean, like in our own Canada, U.S., even Europe, a lot of places are a little bit more straightforward. But now what's happening is people don't have a natural enemy. I mean, even, we had terrorism was a natural enemy. There's no real country that everyone is going, we're going to war, this is the one we got to watch out for. There's no focus point for people in general. So for the most part, now that we don't have anything to focus on, people are literally trying to create issues to try to argue them. They're trying to create, stuff that's nothing, and they're trying to make it into a war because people need to have something to fight against. And I'm 100% believe this because I've seen it in my own life where people who get bored need something to happen in their lives, so they create this stuff, right? So in this case, now in social media, and I'm not going to go into any topics that are too controversial because I don't want to upset any communities that might not like that, but I'm sure you guys can go find out about social topics and social concerns and other things that are going on, political or not, that you may think are ridiculous, but that's just people literally trying to create a common enemy because they have... A lot of people feel like they don't have purpose. So when you get some of these crazy opinionated people who, decide they want to create something new in life, it's not necessarily about the cause. It's not necessarily about what they're trying to do. In a lot of cases, it's people just trying to fulfill their time because they don't have anything to really do with it, Maybe they don't have a family. Maybe they don't have kids. Maybe they can't have kids. Maybe they don't have a hobby. They don't have a job they like. They don't have a career that makes them feel like they, have a purpose. So instead, they find some crazy cause and they latch onto it because they think, this is me now. This is me. And if anything stands against this, this is a direct personal violation of what I believe in because I have committed fully to this cause. Because if I say, that this cause is wrong, then I'm really stuck back where I was without a reason to exist, basically. So that's why you see a lot of people who are, they fight for these causes that a lot of them don't even understand, and they fight tooth and nail with anybody who opposes any of the causes or any of the opinions or any of the whatevers, just to give themselves, a purpose. And it's really crazy. I mean, not to sound like I'm out there. I mean, I could be a prime example. Look at this FDR logging stuff. This is an example of my own thing. Now, granted, I love it and I have a good time with it, and I try to look after it and defend it, and as best we can. But at the same time, if tomorrow, and I always say this, if tomorrow they said, oh, FDR Logging, you're not allowed to do mods anymore, we're shutting everything down, whatever. For whatever reason, YouTube closed down or Giants decided to, whatever, some dystopian idea in my head or something. But if that were to ever happen, I actually probably could just move on with my life and go do something else. But a lot of people who have really strong opinions about certain things or certain causes that they've dedicated their lives to, and now, I feel like I've dedicated a really large portion of my life to this logging and modding because I actually really like it, and YouTube as well, making episodes and doing that stuff. I've dedicated a lot of time to it, so I can understand how you'd want to protect your opinion or protect your hobby or protect something that you feel you're super part of or, delved into. But a lot of those people, and God forbid some of them have some really horrible mental disorders, but if you're stuck in that mindset of this is me, do or die, then it's actually kind of scary because some of those people will, do some pretty radical things to try to keep their opinion on top of everybody else's opinion. While me, I would be more happy just be like, oh, We can't do that anymore? Oh, that sucks, but oh well, we'll find something else to do, I guess. A lot of people can't accept that, and they'll go, no, I will die before I let this happen, you know, that kind of thing. But anyway, sorry, long random rant, but it's just interesting, especially in the times we live in now, to watch all the different things that come up. And like I said, I'm not going to bring up any of the topics because I don't want to start a big war or anything. But like I said, you guys can probably imagine different things that are happening around the world and debates and problems and stuff. And some of it's just wild. Some of it's good, some of it's wild, and a lot of it's just marketing. A lot of companies like to take advantage of things that are going on in the world and try to change to look like they're diverse, and a lot of them don't actually care. Yeah, if anybody is working at a company and knows marketing, it's follow the trend, right? That's how it goes. It doesn't really matter what the trend is or what the cause is or what it stands behind. As long as it doesn't violate your company values and you're still making profit and can look like you're diversified, follow the trend. Pretty funny. What do you guys think? Throw your opinions in. I love hearing people's opinions. I don't care if they're good or bad, but leave them in the comments. Have a debate about a subject. And again, like, I would love to be able to tackle some of the subjects that are out there. I lightly can brush up against some of them, but there's a lot of stuff that, well, one, it doesn't really belong in the logging world at all, so I don't really want to bring in too much of the topics. I prefer to talk about, instead of just picking one nasty topic to discuss, like saying, you know, something that's, you know, very prevalent right now in the world, I prefer to talk about the way people react to that thing. I prefer to talk about the social behavior of a human being and how they react and why they react the way they do to a cause, to a subject, as opposed to just discussing that subject and whether that opinion is right or wrong. Everybody has their own opinion, and if they believe in it hard enough, you're never going to convince them otherwise that their opinion is wrong or different or, you know, crazy. That's just the way people are, so you can choose to accept it. But if someone else is trying to shove an opinion in your face and they're making you eat it and there's no choice, then I totally understand those who go against it. But for the most part, just let the people have their opinions, whether they're crazy or whether they're completely right or wrong. Just give them their opinions, let them rock. Because you're never going to prove them wrong or right, and life is short, so why waste your time trying to change them? That's my rant on human beings and social media and all the other crazy things we talked about. Oh my god, this is long. We've been here for 32 minutes? Oh my god. All right. Let's load this guy up. I'm going to take a really quick wander. Some of these episodes are just going to be long. That's just the way she goes. It's hard to predict. On these projects, it's hard to predict sometimes how long it's going to take to get these sorted out. There we go. Put that there. So let's take a little gander here. Holy, look at all these logs. We did pretty good. So yeah, we did pretty much right up to their line that they asked for here, which is good. I don't think we left any stand. Oh, we left a couple up on the hill, but that's okay. Those are kind of out of the area here. So when the self-loader comes, he'll come pick up all this stuff, and I don't know if they want to keep the stumps or grind them out. That'll be their problem. But yeah, no, that's good. We got a bunch of piles here for him to pick up, and we should be all good to go. So yeah, we're going to head back to Legion Hills, and I got some plans to build some new stuff. So on the next episode, we will start looking at maybe adding some new roads in there, maybe some new buildings. We'll see what we got. But yeah, if you guys like the episode, leave a like, leave a comment. Do not forget to subscribe, and if you're in the bush, don't forget to hug a tree. Alrighty, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.